Is my spouse a sex addict? That's our conversation today. And if you've yet to subscribe to our channel, please do, because we have a lot for partners of sex addicts. We have a lot for sex addicts in recovery and marriage in recovery. So many helpful videos for you to watch, subscribe. If you got a question, put it in the box. Well, is my spouse a sex addict? I'm Dr. Doug Weiss, and I've been working with sex addicts for over 40 years. And trust me, I've heard that question so many times. So I want to walk through with you because oftentimes sex addicts hide their behaviors. So it's really hard to tell from the outside if they're addicted or struggling or got a problem or they just got caught, and so I want to walk through some of that with you. Typically, male or female sex addicts, they will have what we call increased usage, which means it's taking more and more of their time. Now, you as a spouse, what that means is they let you go to bed and they come to bed at 2 o'clock in the morning and they're downstairs or in another room on a computer. And yes, they're probably not reading news for that many hours, but it can take where it takes more and more and more time. Another symptom is they're aggravated if they can't have access to their particular addiction, be it pornography, be it different forms of social media, AI sexuality stuff, even other people, if they're away, if they're in a situation where there's no internet service, they get really anxious and irritable and frustrated, and the agitation because they can't get access to their supply is really high. Another thing is they tend to start reducing other activities. Now, this is something as a spouse you can see. They used to be involved in a sport or politics or religious activities or social activities. And they were kind of involved pretty much, but it's kind of waned off a lot. And you don't really have another reason to explain why it's waned off, because when the addiction takes more and more energy and time, which it does, then something has to give way. Another way to tell if someone has any addiction is they are like morally and emotionally an adolescent. They respond in very adolescent ways. They're somewhat emotionally unregulated if they're challenged. Their use of anger will be oftentimes inappropriate. And it won't make sense, some of their logic. Like they need to go to the store to pick up something you have, but it took an hour and a half and it's a 15-minute thing. So, you'll find them being in the bathroom, being, having the doors locked, having passwords on everything is a real good indication. Because if you're not an addict and you're not using the internet or your cell phone or your computer inappropriately, there's no need for all those password things. Or if there is a password for the kid's sake, then the spouse has that password and it can easily access the phone. Or if you ask them to see their phone, you get this big resistance. You might consider that there's something going on, whether it's an addiction or not. Now, also during sex, if you have a sex addict, some sex addicts can stay connected during sex, eyes open, lights on, nurturing conversation, look at you and talk to you. But often, because in the addiction they're attached to the object relationship world, they have to go to the fantasy world. So because of the bandwidth issues, they have to close their eyes and they literally go to another place. And when you're having sex with them, you can literally feel like it's like just sex. You're not being made love to. You're alone. You feel used. Afterwards, you feel more empty than fulfilled or connected. And that's someone who oftentimes, if they're preferring an object world as opposed to the real one, looking into your eyes and talking to you as a person, not as an object. I'm not talking about dirty talk, but being able to relate to you during sexual encounters is a sign of healthiness. A sign of dysfunction or addiction would be where they have to disconnect, disassociate, or not be present at all during that thing. If there's a history of sexual abuse, 80% of sex addicts have that history. Now, that doesn't make you a sex addict, but it's a possible indicator that there could be issues. If they come from significant dysfunctional backgrounds, addictions of any type, alcohol, drugs, sex, food, porn, all of that would be a normal reaction to that. If they are unable to really stay in a conversation, staying emotionally present, really having almost no emotional skills, the probability of an addiction is high. Now, whether it's a porn addiction or a sex addiction, or they're acting out with other people, only they would know that. Now, if you have a lot of kind of circumstantial evidence that, hey, things are going on, I mean, you can find out. At Heart to Heart Counseling Center, we've been doing polygraphs for 35 years. We find out if someone has a problem, how often they're masturbating or doing porn, or if they're in strip clubs or prostitutes or affairs. And in a polygraph, you can find out the truth. And in that situation, especially if they come to an intensive, they can get help. I've seen thousands of men get help, and women, and also the spouse can, whether they're a betrayed man or a betrayed woman. The partner betrayal trauma is real. The PTSD symptoms are real. The depression is real, not feeling like yourself, the weight gain. All of that is because of trauma. Betrayal is trauma. Now, one more thing I'll leave with you. If they exhibit signs of intimacy and anorexia, this is a really good sign that there is a potential sex addiction there. And that is they're too busy for you. They blame you for the problems in the relationship. They withhold love. They withhold praise. They withhold spiritually. They're either disconnected during sex, like we talked about, or they avoid sex with you. They are unwilling when able to share their feelings. They use anger as a way to control and silence as well. There's this ongoing, ungrounded criticism of you. You feel married and alone. And especially if you're in a marriage where sex is very infrequent, the chances of a porn or sexual addiction are really high based on my 40 years of experience. Many of the men and women who suffer with intimacy and anorexia will be taking care of themselves in some way. Well, I hope this has been helpful for you. There's a lot more. We have the 6 types of sex addicts. There's partner betrayal trauma stuff for you. There's so much that we can do. If you want resources, you can go to our website, sexaddict, sexaddict.com, or drdugweiss.com. Give us a call, 719-278-3708. We help people get better. And if they want to heal, they can. But if they don't, if they're protecting their addiction instead of protecting their relationship, people protect what they love. So you might be in an uphill battle if that's their first reaction, but stay with it and see if they're willing to get help. Another thing with addicts is you can ask them, have you tried to stop this? And they'll say yes. How many times? Many times. Failure to stop a behavior is one of the key characteristics of addiction. Going through moodiness and withdrawal when they can't act out is part of an addiction. These are things you can look for. If we can serve you, help you, let us know. And subscribe if you haven't. If you got a question, put it in the box.